You right there. This is my Thunder Dragon profile for 2018. Should be post banlist format. Kind of making some meta calls on what will be hit and what won't. So I'm gonna get right into it. So obviously this is the Brilliant Fusion Thunder build. Um, the generic things I would say I do as free ofs are free Hawk, free OG, free Dark, free Solar, and then free Egg, as well as free Brilliant Fusion, and then free Gold Sock. Those are my free ofs really. Um, for the monsters, I think that's okay, like having those as free ofs. I do prefer two raw, though I'll probably get lynched for playing two raw. Uh, the reason I like this more is because my aim is to send things to the graveyard more. I'm trying to dump my grave and then use my chaos monsters, my baby chaos ones. We're running two Wyver Burster, one Black Dragon Collapse Serpent, and one BLS, and then duo. So you're running five of these, and they might be opened and they might not. But they don't really impact the deck. They don't really affect the deck in a negative way due to how the deck is played. Because we're mostly using these as extenders, and they're very good going second, and they can give you nightmare boards, and they can give you some nice extenders into Sayuja, which I do run in this deck, which is nice. So yeah, 2 Raw is a controversial topic. I've played 2 Raw for about a few months since the conceptualization of the deck. I've always just had this preference of it being in the banished zone or grave rather than my hand. And unless 1 for 1 came higher on the list, I don't think I would put it at 3. But if 1 for 1, for example, got put at 2 or something, I would probably, do that. But I never see this coming off of 1. Uh, and then we run 1 Amber. I've seen some people run 2 Amber. I just feel, if you do open Brilliant Fusion and Amber, you usually will have, like, some way of fixing your hand or a combo underneath that. So you don't even really need to see that. So I really don't think it's essential, and even in worst case, you can use this to make a Titan in hand or make a Colossus when it's set. So I don't think it's a necessarily bad card to run out of 1 of. You don't want to really want to see it as much as possible, but like if you do and you have to use it, then you use it. It's not the end of the world, and you can always recycle this back by using Duo, especially if you banish it for using cost for Titan. So it has some late game implications, which can then get you back into a Titan in the later game. So I don't feel funny about. I don't really feel too particularly strong about that, but it's just my feel. Um, Free Ash, generic. I think when this FTK format's disappeared, that's pray to God it does. Otherwise, we might as well just quit. But if we do get past this format and there is the FTK gone, this will probably be the best generic hand trap, and it will cover most things. I don't feel the need of putting Ghost Bell in here, just because I feel like I'd rather protect my board and go first, and I don't really feel like Ghost Bell will do so much. And like, at worst case, if Malicious stays unbanned, this can still hit Mali, so it's okay. I think Ash is just fine. I don't know if it's worth the price tag of it right now, but I think it's just a generically good hand trap, and it'll probably rise up again in the next format. Um, Two Cerevis. I was thinking of running 1 in the side actually, but I think 2 is generically fine. And versus those matchups where you do face targeting, it's just generically strong. If you, for example, open this and a Hawk, and they impermanence your Solar, you just Cerevis. There's nothing about that. They can't respond. It's your turn. They can't go by the grave. So it's very powerful. I think it allows your deck to go off safely. I think it's just very powerful due to that. It also has it's also a card you can easily side out as a 2 of. Um, you're not really going to give up much for this. Like you can take 2 out, stick in 2 Denko very easily. It's not a huge issue. I think it's fine at 2. You see it blocks impermanence. You see it blocks Widow Anchor. I might think of running 3 just because if I do face those decks that have a lot of targeting, like if I do face Striker, like I might put it back to 3 and then I might maybe take like an Ash out because I don't really feel like running too many hand traps in this. This is very much a pure combo deck, at least the way I'm building it. The goal of this is to always have at least 2 Colossus Titan, or 3 Colossus, or Sayuja 2 Colossus Titan, and sometimes even Sayuja triple Colossus, which is scary. Um, Let me move down here. 2 Instant Fusion. I think 2 is correct. Especially with the way I'm playing the deck. It has problems with this because if I face, for example, Border Stun, I'm gonna have problems because it's only at 2 of. But I really feel like I shouldn't be like making a main deck choice based on a rogue deck strategy, especially an anti-meta one at that, where you usually will have some other outs as well. Like for example, just turning this into a Linkery Bow is a fairly decent option. So I think at 2 it's fine, and also we don't have 3 Raw, and I think if you run 3 Instant Fusion and 3 Brilliant, you run 3 Raw. Especially if you're running draw cards. But as you see in this deck, I'm not running any draw power. I'm running pure dump to grave, get everything going, combo, without drawing into cards, without using much of my deck, using draw power. So I don't really need to see desires, and I feel like desires has some implications in grind game. And you could end up banishing copies of things which won't let you break boards. Like for example, you could end up banishing Thunder Dragons, which would then not allow you to recycle, discard, pop board, break boards with Titan. So you're gonna be kind of hindered in that sense. And I can see the argument for desires, and I can see why people would play it, but I don't want my turn 2 to be potentially worse because I might have banished things that are gonna slow me down. That's just my opinion on it. 1 for 1. I think this is an incredibly powerful extender, if not combo starter, and usually it is safe from a hand trap, which means you're going to get a free monster on board and you're going to get a free dump to grave, which is perfect. You're going to probably dump like this or like this and have this in hand maybe, or even a chaos monster. Like if you have this and Wyver Burster, you're going to go off. If you have this and this, like solar and 1 for 1, if you have solar and 1 for 1, you're going to get a free token, you're going to get a free link 2 without even activating any effects in hand. So at that point, you can still double Colossus off of just 1 for 1 and solar by just having any Thunder Dragon card in hand. Literally any. Oh, well, I mean, you can have this one or this one or this one. I mean, Raw would not be very good in hand here, which is obviously kind of cements my argument of why it's at 2. So yeah, I do think 1 for 1 is incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful. Allows you to dig into Sayuja as well. I also use this in weird builds where I can actually make it curious, but I'll leave that for another topic. 3 Gold Arc, obviously standard. Brilliant extender. Monster Reborn. I think this is good because of obviously of the aim I'm trying to do is to send things to grave, and I'm running. This is basically 3 Hawk, 4 Hawk. In theory, this is just literally another. It's just another Hawk. Because if you open Solar and this, it's the same thing fundamentally, except you get to dig deeper with the combo. This and Reborn is actually better than this and Hawk, which is very unusual, but it does work. You do have to make some more link plays though with it, but you can kind of get around it because if you open up a vanilla Thunder Dragon, you can activate that in hand and then tribute the Dark. After you've done your generic combo, you've gone into Raw and etc, blah blah blah, and you've got to this point. I run 2 Fusion. I think 3 Fusion can brick. I mean, you'd think, oh, I don't open 3 Fusion, but you do. It happens. You will open 2 ofs, you will open 3 ofs, it can happen. And in those cases, I would rather not open 3 Fusion because you can't really make a Titan out of 2 cards unless you open like a perfect 2 card combo and open 3 Fusion. It's great for a discard as well. I like having this just resolved and sent to grave, and I like having a second one because if I draw a gold Sark and I can Sark for Dark and then search Fusion and then Fusion into Titan and then start picking away at my opponent's board, and yeah, they're not going to have a good time with it. And I've probably got another resolve Fusion in grave already, which gives me a search for Duo, which obviously will cement OTKs. Having this in hand and this in grave on your turn 2 is going to cement an OTK, most likely. Due to what you're going to banish and what you're going to trigger and what's going to happen when you Fusion, get a Titan and trigger more effects that use OG Thunder Dragon to pop cards. And then obviously 3 Brilliant Fusion, that's just generic. This is kind of debatable when we get to extra deck. Extra deck, I'm running 2 Titan. Um, I just prefer having the space for more utility to out certain boards. And I would rather this rather than 3 Titan. Though if I do feel like I am gonna lose more grinds due to having 2 Titan, I will probably switch to 3. But at the moment, I'm quite comfortable with 2. Plus, this card is just awesome. Look at him. This reminds me of that monster from that dragon from Jackie Chan. Uh, that thing's cool. 3 Colossus, obviously generic. 1 Prismora. Some people do run Seraphonite as well, and I think if you're running extra normal summons, it's good. But I think if you're just running the one normal summon, which is Solar, whatever. It's not really going to do anything. So I don't really run Seraphonite in this. 1 Kaminari attack, obviously. 1,000 Ice restrict. I think I will probably never take this out. I've been using this since I've been a Crusadia player, and I think I'll always keep it in my extra deck because it's just great target, take, utility, and if you do see something like border and you see this, you can just instant fusion 1,000 Ice, scoop up border, link to repo, and then you can just make fun of the dragon plays. Same thing goes with like you can force responses with this as well. That's the thing. Using this in instant fusion, if you have other extenders in your hand or like combo starters, you can use this just to force a response from something like, for example, Cyber Dragon Infinity. Um, which is good. You want to be able to force responses, and this card allows you to do so. And also it's super old and it's a classic card. Like who doesn't like this card? Borrowload. I don't run Borrow Sword. Just because I feel like as I'm digging into Sayuja and with Egg, I can get over Ulti Falcon and those sort of generic things. So I don't really need a Borrow Sword. And this deck OTK is with 2 Colossus and a Titan most times if the board is empty. Well, if their field is empty, you can just OTK with 2 Colossus Titan. So I don't feel this very needed. I feel this is needed like versus those cards that are just hard to out and just beat over quickly, like Chaos Max. Like if you have a hand that can swarm and can get to Borrowload, I would most likely go for that. But it's mostly there just to out those big things that I sometimes can't beat over, but I usually can because this Underside is at 3-5, and then with an egg on top, it's 4k. That's scary. That is very scary. Like the only thing that can beat over that is Borrow Sword. So you can get over that, and also you can out Borrow Sword yourself anyways with Titan. So it's not even an issue. Sayuja. This is my personal opinion on Sayuja. Like I just think it's an incredible card for the deck. It lets you like this is where I'm making up from not running my draw power. By just running these. And this gets into Sayuja pretty much every time unless they ash the raw. Um, and this is just incredible. Once you get into this, you can start chain blocking and use this chain as like chain link 3, and this chain link 2, and Sayuja chain link 1, and you're just gonna draw into your deck. You'll be able to fix your hand. You'll draw this. If you draw over extenders and you don't want this in the hand, take it out, fix your hand. If you want more hand traps, then you do the same thing. It's incredible going first. It's very potent going second, especially the once per turn special summon. I think it's very scary as a card. And the attack bonus, as I was saying before, does come up. Beats over things like Ulti Falcon by using Titan. Like Titan special summons under it is a beat over of an Ulti Falcon just by using Egg or just itself at 3-5. Nightmare Unicorn, generically incredible. I think I'll play this card until it gets banned. Because if it ever gets banned, which I kind of doubt because they haven't reprinted it, and I think it does deserve a reprint eventually. And yeah, I just think it's very powerful, and if you don't run this in From the Dragons, you're missing a lot of utility. Trisbana, I main deck this just because you want to have an out to back row decks going first on your game 1, and I feel like having this here is perfect. I think this is like a brilliant card for Thunder Dragons just because it does banish a monster as soon as it's special summoned and then banishes spell traps. This also helps us just obliterate Draco. So True Draco just has no outs to this really. You kind of just they don't have don't really have anything they can do. Summer Summoner, I only run 1. This is because I run 1 Lamphonicus. I may change this at some point, but I think at the moment I do like only running 1 and then 1 Lamphonicus because if I have to link 2 with this and anything else, I would prefer to just go into Lamphonicus and have an extra monster, have two extra monster zones. And then you can link this off anyways into maybe a unicorn in a different zone or the same zone with an arrow pointing down, so you can kind of avoid using the extra monster zone for a Titan or a Colossus, which is good. It keeps you safe from Cyber Dragons. And then we want run a Linktree Bow. It's generically good. Like, doesn't need to explain Linktree Bow. Free Pancratops. This is an extra. This is a side deck I'm testing out for the next format. I'll probably change this eventually, maybe. But this is what I'm going for. I'm going for free Pancratops, going second. It's just great. You know, it forces responses. It can respond. So it's very good. You want to have cards that force responses, as I was saying before, like Thousand Eyes. Pancratops does that perfectly. So being able to make this card is very important. And you can do things, as I said before, like you can special summon Pancratops, and then you can normal summon this, make Link Rebo, and then Pancratops, and then destroy border. And that's pretty hard to do unless they've got like a strike. But you can chain these together, and you'll get some things going. Actually, no, you can't be on the border, but sometimes you can chain these together, depending on the deck. So it's quite cool. Forbidden Lance. This is something I'm testing out again. Good versus Striker. You can use this on an Eagle Booster, which is an interesting use of it. Let me just have a look at Eagle Booster quickly. Unaffected by card effects, turn of its own. So obviously you can use this before. Well, you use this in the chain. So obviously, if you're tightening like I don't know, a Shizuku, say for example, and then they Eagle Booster the Shizuku, then you can lance the Shizuku, and it's just gonna be unaffected by Eagle Booster. So it is a good out for against Sky Striker. Also for your own spells, well for your own monsters, it's a great out as well, as we can avoid impermanence. We can avoid engage. Well, not engage. Avoid Widow Anchor. Avoid Afterburner. Most of these generic things it can help out, and I'm testing it at the moment. And I think if you can pick up the super rares early before like copies get bought out, because I think this will become a bit more relevant in the next format. Just because it has such good usage versus Striker as a Thunder Dragon player. Red Reboot, obviously for Altergeist Hate. Same with this, 2 Denko, Altergeist Hate. Then I'm running Gamma and Driver. This kind of does mess the ratios up from my side, because I would kind of prefer free Denko with free Reboot, but I have to stick with the free Gamma and the Driver, just because I feel like this going second is great. Having this going second and this going second is good. You're able to pick boards, like you'll be able to blow out a normal summon. Like this is so good versus decks that use their normal summon. Like zombies, you just Gamma the zombie. In the Armageddon Knight deck, you just Gamma Armageddon Knight. You can just go for it. It's a good thing to blow out a normal summon. Otherwise, it does have usage versus the FTK. Specifically in getting rid of, for example, things like Firewall or Cannon Soldier, or even. I mean, really, you'd use it on the Firewall effect when they try and recur to hand. You just Gamma, and then it's done. But yeah, that's basically my list at the moment. Things I might change is I might add back DD Crow. Just because I do love this hand trap. I think DD Crow is incredible. It's amazing versus Sky Striker. And it has just really good outs, especially if the FDK stays around. You can DD Crow, and obviously you can just banish the Cannon Soldier. Obviously, if they make Azathoth, then you're not going to be able to do this, but you can do this versus them if they do try and like target the Cannon Soldier. You can just banish it, and the only way they can get it out is like DDR, and if they don't have DDR, then they lose. Well, they have to Gambler at that point, but the point is you're having to force them into an option that you might not have had to done previously. So I think this might come back in relevance, especially if the FTK goes, just because it's great versus Sky Striker. It's good versus Goki. You can hit rematch with it. You can hit Invoked with it. You can banish Alistair, or you can banish Invocation. Quite interesting. Also good in the mirror. You can banish Thunder Dragon Fusion, so they don't get searches on the next turn if you can't make a Colossus. So if you Crow that and then you make Titans, you're gonna chain block them for days with Titan, and you're gonna do some damage. You can do some serious problems. Otherwise, it's good versus Altergeist as well. Reason being, for example, if you destroy, let's say, for example, Silquitus. If you destroy Silquitus, like by battle or something, it will target an Altergeist trap in the grave and add to hand. And obviously, we can just banish that trap with DD Crow. So I really like it versus that. And also, it's good versus Manifestation. This one, Altergeist Manifestation. When we get there, come on, YouTube Pro. There we go. So obviously versus this, you can obviously it targets. So anything that targets with DD Crow, you can just banish like very easily. So I think this got very good use. So it's probably something I would consider on the side. Other things I might change, maybe. I mean, if I upped ratios, maybe I'd consider Desires. But I just like how this variant plays as a Chaos variant with Brilliant Fusion. Um, I think it's got a lot of safety. It's got some protection. It doesn't have many hand traps, but like the way you play this is to keep the board and make the board every single time. And the side there kind of complements that as well by having freelance and also things like Reboot and Denko, as well as Gamma if you go second. It can OTK very easily, especially with one BLS. That's one thing I really haven't touched on here is the BLS. Um, I think at 2 it's good, but if it's at 2 I'd probably stick a Hope Harbinger in this extra deck. Just because I feel that combo where you make the Hope Harbinger double Colossus is very powerful. But if I didn't, if I don't, then I just have this because it's great going second. You just draw into it and it's just gonna smack per game. If you see it, it's great. It's a good extender, but I don't like seeing 2 or more unless I'm playing like a Hope Harbinger variant. So yeah, and also it's not a once per turn special summon. You can do this twice in a turn to make a Hope Harbinger. So it's got good use. I think it's got a lot of potential, but I don't think I'd run more than 2. So yeah, that's their profile. Hope you like it.